Welcome, members of the council. Today we have an important meeting to address. Lighting. Yes, we're back at the table that makes me appear slightly too short again, with just 5 cameras this time, so that we can talk about lighting. Lighting is very important in video. I would argue it has more of an impact than the actual camera that you're using, but we're going to take a look at that again, using the wide array of cameras that I have to have a proper look at how lighting can impact things. However, that is impacted by a lot of factors, so first things first, let's take a look at natural lighting. This room currently has no artificial lighting in it except for some light coming out of my computer and the lights on my desk. They will not be having a drastic impact on the quality of the video you're seeing. What will be having a drastic impact, which you can see mostly on the Osmo, is that light there. There is a window there that is almost fully open, which is providing, well, about 80 centimeters of sunlight in. It's currently just going past 1. So the sun will be fairly central in the sky. If you will allow me a minute, I can not adjust the Osmo, but if I just place it in shadow, that's me blocking the majority of the light, particularly on that camera. It comes back, you see it drastically changes light performance. Obviously, controlling light is essential for a vast number of productions. You need to know exactly what the lighting conditions are going to be like so you can set up your camera to look good accordingly. So this is kind of just a test of how well the automatic functions on my cameras perform when I'm trying something like this. So we have the D3200, which I don't know how it looks. The Osmo Pocket, which is already looking too bright unless I just block the sunlight, which looks perfectly acceptable. We have the A6000, which looked very good last time. I was very impressed by its performance. The GH3, which I can actually see the screen of now and is looking a little bit better, mainly because it's focused better. And the HGV. The HGV is the only one I've changed the settings on. Everything else is in its like intelligent auto settings. The HGV is the only thing that's changed, and I've just turned the exposure down a little bit so I look a little bit less warmly lit. It just makes me look a little bit more human. So that is the performance we get in natural light. I'm now going to stop recording and come back in about 6-7 hours when there is no light. And I will be a little bit quieter because I have to be respectful of people's sleep. So, brace them up. Right, quick diversion for a second. Right now you are looking at footage from just before 5 PM. And this is obviously January. It's getting a little bit dark outside, but it's not ridiculously dark. There is currently a ceiling light on, as well as all the lights that were on before. But this already doesn't look as good, by quite a noticeable way. In a lot of the cameras you're going to notice grain, and for a lot of them the picture quality just generally won't be as good, even if there isn't a lot of grain. I can see reflections of both the Osmo and the GH5. The Osmo is handling it much better, mainly because it's designed for high exposure. Sorry, excuse me. It's designed for lower light than most cameras. The GH3 isn't handling it great. The HGV really isn't. I don't know about the D3200 and A6000, but you'll see those right now. So, let's get to when I want to properly talk about it, when it's completely dark outside. Just very quickly, it appears the D3200 wasn't rolling, so this is what the D3200 looked like. Okay, so what you're seeing now is the lighting at 20 to 6 PM in January. The sun has set, it's dark outside. The only lighting we have now is that ceiling light and the lights around the room. So as you can see, the quality is a little bit lower. Again, not much of a change though, because the light was already fairly dim. So what I'm going to do now is turn off that top light, and you see that in low light a lot of these cameras really start to struggle. The A6000 will do its best to adjust, the D3200 also tries. That tried a little, but the exposure on this is already at max. GH3 is doing an alright job, but not great. And as I turn off more and more of the lighting, well, by this point you can't even really see me at all. So, let's turn on both of those lights again, and you're going to watch as I set up my lighting set. As I've talked about before, the lighting set that I have are newer 660 Pros. Hold on a second, I'll grab your panel. Yep. Oh, they're a bit heavy. They are newer 660 Pros, which, as you may guess, have 660 RGB LEDs in them. So I'm going to rig these up and put them on either side of me. Now, I confess, I don't know a lot about lighting. I know the fundamental basics. I know the approximate details of how to light oneself on a set. But I don't know much, if any, of the details. So I kind of just go with what looks good in a preview window, which is difficult for me to do. The reason being that very few of my cameras actually have a system to preview. Not in the they don't have a live view kind of way, in that I generally film in ways that makes that very difficult. The D3200, unless I put a monitor on it, doesn't have a way for me to see it when the camera is facing me, which means I can't use it for a preview. The A6000, the screen does come out a little, so I can see it from over top if it's facing forward, but I can't see it from in front, so I can't frame myself up. The GH3 should be able to, but again, the screen is broken. The Osmo can, but obviously we've seen the video quality isn't perfect, so I try to avoid using it for bigger things like this. And the HDV with the flippy out screen, obviously you can do it, but I'm not going to use a HDV to film all of my episodes, that's wildly impractical. So we're just going to frame up these lights. I'm actually just going to use the other method of mounting it so that it goes on its side. And just push out a little, just because then I can get it a little bit lower, because I am sitting quite low down. It does mean the light will be a little bit closer to me than I would necessarily like, and very close to the camera, but I'm okay with that. So we're going to plug in one of these lights now, and switch it on, and you will immediately see a difference in the brightness. Like, immediately. Okay. If I lean down now, you can see the brightness and composition of the shot has changed dramatically. I'm going to adjust the HDV now, so that I look more like a human being. The exposure is wildly different. You can see that set background has gotten drastically darker in all of the shots because it's not getting as much of the light from there. And that's only one light on my left side. As you can see from right side of my face, there is a drastic change in lightness, which is kind of what professional lights are designed for. So I'm going to set up the second light, and we're just going to jump cut to that being done, or I will get round to Mott for my ability to set up a light, depending on how editing me feels. The shot now. You're going to see the cameras adjust to me being in the shot, me being a very white and reflective surface, and I'm just going to adjust that a little bit so that both the lights are fully on me, and you can see that this is, well, bright. This is a very bright shot. I don't think I would ever have these lights these bright. I don't think it would ever be necessary, to be honest. I mean, just me looking down, like if I look down, I look back up, the Osmo really struggles with it. I don't know how the other cameras are doing. I can vaguely see the GH3 is actually handling it quite well. But either way, we can play about now, because I have the newer app, and these are app controllable. So I'm going to connect to the two lights, and we're just going to have a play. I don't know a lot about lighting. I think I said that a couple of minutes ago, but the point stands. I really don't know a lot about this kind of thing. That's party mode. That's not really suitable. Okay. That's 15%. Go back into this one as well. That's 25%. So this is 15-25% brightness at 3,300 Kelvin, I think. This is very warm. You can tell, particularly in the HDV, that this is very warm. I look very, well, sickly, to be honest. But it doesn't look terrible in most of the shots. Generally, lighting looks better in colder performances. It just depends what you're looking for. So if we go to 4,500 Kelvin on both, you get a, once it's adjusted, particularly in the GH3 and the A6000, a much healthier looking knee, and generally a much healthier looking shot. The shot isn't overblown in the back and in the front. I believe I look pretty good. So, we're going to try now going full cold, 5600 on both. We're still at, is that the right or the left? That's the left. we're at 15% on the left, 25% on the right. You should always have one of your lights slightly brighter. I'd say this still looks okay. It's still looking a little bit dodgy in some of the shots. But I think that this looks perfectly acceptable in most circumstances. But generally, I think I would aim for 4600 Kelvin. Looks not too cold, not too warm. It's kind of just a natural white light, which looks pretty good. Talking brightness-wise, I think there's kind of just diminishing returns. Like, we could just whack these both up to like full 100%, and it's just like way too bright. What if I turn them off? That's, yeah. And back on. The exposure is quite high on all the cameras. This is much more manageable for looking at. I don't know exposure-wise how we're doing. I will have to look at all of these to see where grain becomes less and less of an issue. So in fact, we're just going to take some shots, because I'm just experimenting with this. Where we're just going to not put them in disco mode. We're going to go up to 4500, and then we're going to increment brightness. So 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, getting a little bit too bright now, 60%, 70%, 80%-ish, 90%, and 100%. So we can have a look and see where we're doing there. Let's go back down to, we'll stick with 30, just up the exposure on the HGB a bit. The HGB is the only one I'm controlling manually, just because the controller's there and it needs it. All of these are in automatic, so obviously we can play around with these cameras in a separate episode, and we will see how we can work with this setup. I think what we will do for that camera episode is have these lights set up as they are now, and we'll have a camera on this table. We'll set the brightness to 30%, the color temperature to 4500 Kelvin on both. I know you're supposed to have like one slightly brighter than the other. I know the basic concept of 2-point lighting. I know more about 3-point lighting, which I can't do, but yeah. Either way, one last thing. We can control the color of these lights, which is quite fun to do. Let's go into HSL mode, put the right light into blue at 45%, and the left light into red at 30%. This looks quite cool. It looks stupid. I know it looks stupid, but yeah, I mean, let's just, come on. It looks pretty cool. No, it doesn't. It looks stupid. Hold on, I can fix that. First off, that should be 240 exactly. Second off, this light here. Dim down a little bit. See, I'm trying to look at the preview and not succeeding. Let's try going 60-40. It's going to be very bright on the blue. It was basically already at 60-40. That's interesting. Let's try going bright yellow. You know, the natural state of being. Don't like this. Which one was red? Which one was blue? That one was red. And nope, that one is still red, and that one was blue. Okay, I think we can cut this video here. The point is that lighting makes a drastic difference to the quality of the video. No matter how good a camera you have, without lighting it can be terrible. So, I think lighting is a very important factor, and I will be looking into it further throughout further videos. But if we're going to be talking about further performance, you're going to have to wait an episode or so. There's an important one coming up next week. See you then. Woo! Okay. Ugh. Disco mode? Disco mode. Excuse me. Group. Control group. See.